What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the next layer, where we go deep with athletes and outliers who train, think, and live at the edge. This show is powered by Elos, the performance thermal brand built for cold starts and even harder finishes. Today's guest is a professional athlete and outdoors guru, and we're super excited to have him on. Manuel is a three-time world champion skydiver who's spent the last decade dialing in performance at altitude, whether that's in free fall, on a bike, or halfway up an ice wall. He's kind of touched everything and done it all. And so we're super lucky to have Manny joining us, especially fresh off of the World Cup in France, I believe we talked about. And about a month ago, he did his self-proclaimed Olympus Odyssey Challenge, where he and his buddy biked from Austria to Greece and then summited Mount Olympus, also known as the Throne of Zeus, and then skied back down and did all of that in one fell swoop. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But we're super excited to dive into performance with Manny. Really diving into control, exposure, and mindset, and how all that impacts the things that he does. So, Manny, how are we feeling, and how was this past weekend, man? How was France?
Thanks, and first for the invitation for the podcast. It was good. It was kind of hard because we had long days. We started skydiving at 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening. We had a long travel with 15 hours straight on the road back. I'm a little bit tired now, but we keep it going.
Yeah, those are some long days, man. How many straight days of
Oh yeah,
that? Essentially 12 plus hour days. How many straight days of that have you done?
yeah. It was like the first we traveled on Wednesday. Then we had 4 days of skydiving, and now yesterday we got back. So 6 days, 2 days on the road. We've also like 14 hours traveling and then 12 hours of skydiving for 4 days. Yeah, it's hard.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Especially it
man. No,
was
it's
like
grind.
really hot temperatures. So
Right, right. No, it's
yeah,
cool, man. Um, well, real quick, Manny, if you want to just introduce yourself to our audience just a little bit more than I did there. I know I teed it up pretty well, but if you just want to give a little bit about your background, that'd be great.
yeah. I'm Manny from Austria, 30 years old. I'm professional skydiver in the Austrian military. So kind of like the Golden Knights unit, how it is in America. And yeah, I'm living my dream. In the spare time, I'm also doing cycling, ice climbing, like you said, hiking, all the alpinism stuff which we got to have in the Alps. And yeah, always enjoying Mother Nature.
I love it, man. I love it. Short and sweet, just like we like it, and a love for the outdoors, also just like we like it on the next layer. So, thanks for the intro. And I know when we were just real quick again on your origin story. I know when we were catching up, um, you said you started your love for the outdoors started when you were pretty young, right? When you were young, you were skiing, you were on the mountain growing up, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, when I was 2 years old, my parents taught me to ski. Since then on, every weekend we were on the mountains, and especially also in summer, we were always like we are living at the feet of a beautiful mountain here in Salzburg. Every time when there was some spare time, we were going up the mountain, either if it's hiking, climbing with my parents, or skiing. So I was growing up in the mountains, you can say.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask because, a lot of people do grow up, and I wasn't one of them, but a lot of people do grow up on the mountains and grow up with their parents going, but not a lot of people grow up going to the mountains and then becoming a professional skydiver. There are very few people that are professional skydivers. So you gotta tell us a little bit about the story of how you ended up becoming a professional skydiver because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, at first I always wanted to get a professional skier. Later on, I wanted to get a professional windsurfer. Yeah, I was I wasn't sucking at those sports, but I just wasn't good enough. So a friend of
Yeah.
mine who has always been a skydiver, and he was always telling me, "Yeah, come on, let's do it, let's try it." I was like, "Yeah, for sure, I do it," but we were just talking. And then, yeah, my girlfriend doesn't want to hear it maybe, but my ex-girlfriend, she wanted to give me a tandem jump on my birthday. Then it turned out that we're not a couple anymore on my birthday, so I was like, "Yeah, I still wanted to try this actually." And I was like, yeah, maybe spending $200 on a tandem jump, that's wasted money. So I just was going straight to the license, did my license, going first solo out. So I have never been on a plane before. First time I was
Oh
going
wow.
up with the plane, I was jumping out. So after I think
That's
maybe
crazy.
100 skydives, I was landing first time with the plane. So yeah, that was it. And with the first jump, I was immediately down for it. And I knew that will be my sport.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so cool. What an awesome story too. And then how was it different? So obviously you got licensed, but then how did you get involved with the military? Like how does the process work for professional skydiving in terms of like getting recruited as a top skydiver and a top talent to be admitted into a program like that with the military? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, most people just go with the military and then do the license there because like they're in a special unit.
Right.
For me, it was
Okay.
different because when I started skydiving, I was 17. So, and I was just a student, so I didn't even know that there are competitions in skydiving or you can do it professional. So I was just going into it. Later on, after the license, I got to know the disciplines and got to know the sport more. And also, yeah, also told me, yeah, you can do it professional. So I was just going to my club, HSV Red Bull. They were taking me. I was training there. I was getting to do my first competitions, and later when I was getting better and better. Yeah, the army recruited me as a sports skydiver. So at first I had to do a lot of jumps, show my talent, and also like bring some kind of results. And then they're recruiting me for it, and yeah, now I'm here.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Very interesting and different than any other sport, really, about like a
So yeah,
trajectory to become a pro and to compete in world championships. It's very different, and especially like what it takes to be involved in the military and how that's different from just being on a club team if you're a football player, soccer player, whatever. Super different, but no, man. So I'm really fascinated and when we were catching up before this, just about kind of all the things that you're passionate about and interested in. Obviously, you take skydiving the most serious, but how all of these different things end up building into your training program too, which is really cool to me. So I know we were talking about your passion for cycling and mountain biking and lifting and these type of things. So I just wanted you to speak on a little bit for the audience how all these different passions of yours actually fuel your training for skydiving, just a little bit, and kind of how you view each of these activities and as a part of your training program.
yeah. At first I was just like training my normal stuff. I was going to the gym, do some lifting, and I also was doing the training for skydiving. And in my free time, I was just like doing the hiking stuff, going onto the bike. But later on, I saw that it also the endurance stuff can help me a lot with skydiving, because like we said before, a day with 12 hours straight of skydiving, you're all the day out in the outdoors, getting the sun. Mostly after 4 or 5 hours, you get tired. But also, especially the cycling helped me a lot to build the endurance throughout all the day, and it also helps me to stay my head clear. So normally when I'm out there 12 hours of skydiving, after 6 hours my head is just wasted, you know. And with the endurance training, it can really help you to get the focus for the next 6 hours straight. So that's especially when you have like at the end of the day, the jumps are the most important ones when the competition is getting to the end, and that's where most people can lose or lose the battle, you can say. So that what helps me
Exactly.
keeping my focus straight throughout the day, and that's what I appreciate the most with all the other sports.
Yes, it's at the end there. I mean, I can't imagine the last 3 hours of an event like that where, it's kind of weeding out the weak, if you will, as we were talking about, which is kind of crazy from a both physical and mental side. So with that, like, 2 weeks out from an event like you just had this weekend, what is like the perfect training week look for you? Not on a deload week right before, but what does that kind of perfect stack of training look like for you in a week or a day or whatever, however you want to take it as you're getting ready for competition season?
So or 3 weeks before, it is just all about skydiving, getting the jumps in, getting the repetitions and the technique in. And then I would say 1.5 hours before, 1.5 weeks before, we're getting easier, doing still a little bit of skydiving, do a little bit of jumps, just like to stay in the sport. But then I'm just like trying to recover my body and to prepare my body for the upcoming weekend full of focus, because also when we have a skydiving competition, it's mostly about 3 days, sometimes world championships lasting 1 week, and we have 3 different disciplines. So that's kind of hard for body and mind. So I'm just trying to regenerate a little bit, go on the bike, go into the gym, but it's not like to get the hard repetitions in. I don't do intervals or sprints or anything. So it's just like keeping the body in a good shape, and then later on, 1 or 2 days before, it's all about regeneration, nice times at home.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure, and that's what I think a lot of people overlook the recharge on the couch and how important that is for both the mind and the body. And
I think especially the endurance athletes and the strength athletes, for them it's the most important part as well to get recovered, especially after injury or after if you have a cold or something. That's always the part for me as well. I just when the weather is good outside, I just want to go outside. But especially like today, when I'm really tired, I have to force myself to stay at home to recharge and get the batteries going again. Yeah.
Exactly, man. And it's interesting too, because we've been, so obviously for the last couple minutes we've been talking about the physical side, but what I'm really curious about, and I'm sure our audience is too, is the mental side of preparation for your discipline in skydiving, right? I think that's just as important as the physical side is. So can you speak a little bit to, again, a perfect week mentally for you? And you alluded to like the outdoors, and using that as a release and other things like that. But any tactics that you have to gear your mind mentally to get into competition and things like that?
Yeah, especially in my opinion, in skydiving, nearly half the thing besides the training and the talent is the mind. As I see a lot of people, they're really talented and they're giving good results because you have 8 jumps for a competition. They're nailing it for 7 jumps, and then at the last 8 jump, they're just racking it up because their mind is not ready for it. So for me, a perfect week, like I said, before competition, it's all about recharging and getting my head free, because we do a lot of training with video analyzing. So every jump we are debriefing it with videos, and I try to get this out of my head because I know and I can do it. I have the technique. So before it, I just try to get everything out of my head. That's where hiking and climbing is helping me a lot, because the mountain, you're alone on a mountain or with your body, everything is still. That's helping me getting my head free. We're doing a lot of breath work before and visualization training. So especially before the jump, you do a lot of visualization. And we're also working with a mental coach. Do a lot of breath work sessions where we said before the Wim Hof technique. We do a lot. So to really get ourselves down. And also before the jumps, we do a lot of breathing and visualization. So that's kind of it, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, like you said, I think it's super interesting to think about how much of an impact the mental side has on your discipline, because I think it's overlooked in a lot of different things, and different avenues of life too. And one thing you mentioned there is visualization. So how key is that for you in what kind of your preparation or your routine before you jump, right? So like I know, like, is visualization just as important as the mechanics of the jump, like body position and formation and altitude awareness and all these different types of things that you need to factor in? Would you say it's visualization that is really the most important thing, or would you point to something else?
No, for me, it is for sure visualization, because before I jump, especially in accuracy skydiving, there you have to land on the like a spot which is as big as a penny. So
Right.
yeah, you really have to get your jump in, because with skydiving you have so much different. You have the winds, you have the thermals and all the stuff which you have to calculate in. So the visualization for this, I really need to know what will jump look like. So I have to get it on my mind, go through it all the time when I'm on the plane, when I'm in free fall. Actually, I'm thinking about it, and you always have to yeah, you know what you're doing, you know. So, and with all those outliers, yeah, you have to prepare for it. And also the box briefing, like we said last time, to just, because it's a high
Uh-huh.
adrenaline sport, you know, you have to get your body chilled, and you have to remember
Yeah.
the fun as well, because I think in every sport, if you don't have the fun with you, uh, you yeah, you're losing it.
Yeah, man. So I just want everyone to realize what he just said. They're landing on a 2 centimeter wide, like the size of a penny, like a size of a penny landing area, which is the craziest thing, and obviously scored based on all that kind of stuff. So, speaking to that a little bit, again, very fascinated with that entire thing, to be honest, and mainly on the mental side. What is the biggest misunderstanding that people have about skydiving at your level? Is it the technical piece of, like, the landing area is so small, or is there something else that you think is really misunderstood about skydiving at the highest level for you, as a 3-time world champ? What is the most misunderstood thing about your sport?
I think at first, not on the high performance level, but still the greatest misunderstanding is that skydiving is a sport. Because all of
Yeah, yeah,
people,
that's
they
true.
go to the drop zone, make their tandem jump, they think it's just fun, and you see it a lot of times because a lot of people have it just as a hobby. So I think that's the most misunderstood part. And with performance part, I still think that the people, they're always thinking, yeah, you just hop out of the plane, open your parachute, land. So, but it's still, there is so much more. We still do the gym training, strength and conditioning training. We do the mental preparation. We do the endurance training. We do so many stuff which all other athletes also do. And still some more. We do dry training in the hangar. I think that's
Yeah,
the main
no.
point. Yeah, the people don't see a lot of hard work behind it, because you don't have to be the biggest. You don't need to have the biggest physique, but you still, every athlete in skydiving does the training. Even if you don't see it at first.
Right. And we're talking, so that's fantastic. That's a good point. And by the way, if you don't think it's a real sport, or two, you don't think it's cool, you got to check out Manny's Instagram, because these photos are insane, of him in the sky. But no, so, I have to bring it up. So we've been talking a lot about the physical and mental, right? And I think this Olympus Odyssey challenge that you and your buddy did kind of epitomizes both of those things. And so I need to bring it up now. So again, just to recap, they biked from Austria to Greece, and then summited Mount Olympus, which is about 10,000 feet above, over 10,000 feet, and then skied down the mountain. So I gotta, obviously on the mental side, right? When you say, oh my God, I got hundreds of kilometers of bike ahead of me, you can really psych yourself out about something like that. Or then when I finish the bike, then I got to climb up Mount Olympus, and so all these different mental pieces of it, right? So just speak a little bit to, one, why you decided to do this, and then two, what it was like while you were doing it, because I'm sure the audience is pretty interested about that.
Yeah, at first I was just like seeing a documentation in the TV about ski touring in Greece, and I have been in Greece before, like many years ago. But it was a summer holiday. We were chilling on the beach, relaxing. So I never thought
Yeah,
that we have
Mykonos or
mountains.
something like that.
You never think that they have mountains, and especially not mountains to ski there. So I was looking it up, chatting with buddies from Greece, and they were like, yeah. The one was saying, yeah, you can come and you can ski there. The other one was saying, no, it's not possible. For me, it was like, I just want to find out if it's really true, and if you get some nice mountains to ski there. And then I was chatting with a buddy. We were doing like bikepacking trips earlier before, and we were looking it up on the internet, and we said like, yeah, it's about 1,800 kilometers, so about 1,200 miles or something. So I said, yeah, I think we can do that on a bike, so why not combine it? So it was
Yeah.
just like a nice chat. We started it out yeah, we were grabbing a beer, talking about it, and then we had the project going on. So, and yeah, it's not like training for skydiving. There's just like a project we did from our hearts, because we are like alpinism guys, and we like to cycle. So it turned out really good. It was fun. It was
Yeah.
challenging for sure, for the body and for the mind.
Yeah.
But
What was
you
the
know,
most challenging part of it?
for me, it wasn't the body actually, because at first I thought it should be the body. It was the only first 2 or 3 days the legs were sore, but then it got better and better. So the body was, I thought it always has to get harder and harder, but it was only the first 3 days, and then the body was just like getting used to it, and then the
Right.
legs weren't sore anymore. But I think at first it was the mind. The first 3 days, because the body was sore and my mind was telling me, oh man, it has to get harder and harder. And especially in Austria, it was cold. When we got to Croatia and to the coastline, it was getting warmer. So the mind was telling me, man, you're struggling on the second day, and it even gets harder and harder. So
Yeah.
that was the point where we really had to dig deep in our brain to, yeah, to try to conquer the yeah
Yeah.
the bad things we had in it.
And I think like what I'm super curious about. Thanks for sharing about that. And I think like when people see challenges like this on social media and just come across it, right? I think the most misunderstood thing is about just like how much preparation something like this,
Oh yeah,
what goes into something like this. And so, for the purposes of the podcast, I'm really curious about, just your gear preparation and how you approach that, because I know you were talking about how the changes in temperature were pretty drastic, where you'd be taking off layers and then putting them on the next day, and depending on where you were or what part of the journey you were on. So can you speak a little bit about kind of how you approached the gear stack? And I saw you posted something on Instagram, which was pretty cool. We got to get Elos in that next time.
oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, can you speak up a little bit about how you prepared gear wise for something like this, and what was kind of the biggest piece of gear that you brought that you didn't think was going to be that important, but ended up being really important?
Oh yeah, yeah. Basically, we were planning it since 1 year, so it took a lot of time. We planned a lot of stuff in theory. We didn't test out really much. So the approach later on was kind of freestyle, because we were
Yeah.
changing the setup on the bike when we were going, and also the first or 2 3 days we were changing the setup. So, but the preparation before was kind of hard, because you're taking all your stuff you also need on the mountain on the bikes, and as everybody knows, on the bike there is not much space to go, and also it has to be lightweight. So we needed to get some gear which works on the bike and also on the mountain. So the hard shell, of course, you need for when it's raining and stuff, when it's getting cold and when the wind is coming. But for me, the most important part was kind of like the socks our grandmother was making for us, because at first we didn't want to take it, and
Hmm.
then grandmother of Joachim, the buddy which was with me, said, "Yeah, no, just take it. You will think of me, and trust me, you will need it. And
Yeah.
especially if you go after bike, you're totally wet because there was a rain,
Hmm.
and you need it for sure, because when the feet are cold, the body, especially for me, when my feet are cold, all the body is cold, and I can't regenerate anymore. So I have a hard night. I can't go on the bike anymore. So that's the hardest thing. Elos would have helped there quite good. So
Yeah, no,
for next
that's why
time,
we got to we'll get you in the gear stack for next time. But no,
perfect.
that's definitely a big dude. It's a big thing, man, and it's super impressive how you had to fit everything on a bike, so it was even
Oh yeah,
harder planning. And obviously, a big part of what goes on the bike are the skis and the
Oh yeah,
poles.
skis, poles,
So
ski
even
boots.
even less room there. But no, that's super interesting,
Yeah, we
man.
were
How
stuffing a lot
long?
of stuff also in the ski boots and all
Yeah.
the used underpants we didn't need anymore in the other ski boots. So
Dude,
yes.
how many days did this end up taking until you ended up skiing down Mount Olympus? How many days in total?
So it was 12 days of biking. So we were actually faster than we thought about 14 days before. So it was 12 days on the bike. And then we were hiking up the mountain. Fortunately, because we had a bad weather, so we had to walk down again because we didn't have too much food with us because we were sleeping at huts, but it was just like the emergency room we were sleeping. So we didn't have
Hmm.
electricity, water, or anything. So on the mountain, it ended up to 4 days for standing up on top and skiing down. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And then where you said this was a decision that happened over some beers, correct?
Oh yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah. It was just like we were sitting on some beers, talking about the project, and yeah, stupid ideas happens when you grab a beer with your friends.
That's what I was gonna say, but I mean, I think I need to find new friends because I think that conversation with my friends would have been, what should we bet on this sports game or something like that. I don't know if we would have, I don't know if we would have come up with something like we're gonna bike to Greece and then climb up a mountain, but yeah, maybe I need to rethink my friends, man.
Yeah, maybe betting on some games would be better
Exactly for the body's health,
sometimes.
and it probably
Yeah,
would.
it always depends on which ideas you are coming out. You know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No, man. But yeah, no. So real quick too. Thanks for sharing about that, and you did it
You're
again.
welcome.
Everyone, check out Manny's Instagram to see the documentation of this journey because it was pretty insane. But real quick, man, like I want to touch a little bit on just your passions out, and obviously this trip kind of encapsulates, or this journey challenge encapsulates your passions outside of skydiving. But what's I know you use most of it for a reset, kind of how we were talking about most of the stuff you do outdoors. But I'll kind of use this time to get some rapid fire questions. What do you prefer to do? And it might depend on the season, but what do you prefer to do? Ski or climb slash hike? Ski or climb slash hike, or ski or climb slash hike?
That's hard. Yeah. Of course, it depends on the season.
Right.
When I was younger, it was skiing. Right now, it's I would say even climbing.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. That's awesome. What kind of climbing are you more into, or does it depend on the season?
For me, it's like outdoor pitches, so tread climbing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
especially yeah, because I love being outdoors. Of course, I also go to the climbing hall when it's not the best weather. But for me, I really love, and a lot of climbers don't know why, but I would say for me, ice climbing was really catching me last in the last years
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot of climbers don't like ice climbing because yeah you make yourself your grips and stuff. But for me, that's the nice thing actually because I don't have the same grips all the time. So every season or every day you get a new other ice layer. Sometimes it's thin, sometimes the ice is really good, sometimes it's a little bit wet. So and you make yourself a route. So when you're on the ice fall and the waterfall, you can make yourself a new route every day, nearly. So that's what I really got to love in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then again, another question. How has nature like impacted you in terms of like, your professional your athletic journey and everything that you've been a part of? How is nature a part of that, and how important is it to you as you're, training and thinking about resetting and all the things that we talked about? Is it very important, not that important, and why?
For me, it is really important. It's not only for resetting my body and my mind, but also nature can teach you a lot of things, especially when you're like going out and do high alpinism stuff, go climb some or go climbing. The mountain, especially the mountain, because everybody is like happy when he's on top. I'm always happy when I'm down the mountain again because the mountain is way bigger than us, and he taught me a lot of things, a lot of
Yeah, for
hard
sure.
things I had to learn. So I think it also, yeah, kind of uh, teaches you to stay humble, I would say, and yeah,
Yeah,
to
man. Hu-
take it as it is.
Yeah, humble and patience, I think is
Oh
the
yeah,
biggest thing that a mountain can teach you, man.
oh, for
Humbleness
sure,
or humility, sorry, humility and
for
patience.
sure.
I think
It's,
those are huge things.
it's nice that you say patience, yeah, because especially a Greek friend of us wanted to go with us at Mount Olympus. He tried to climb it since 10 years in the winter with skis and ski down, and it was the fourth approach now, and he still couldn't do it because the conditions were bad. So that's also patience, yeah. It's a good word.
Yeah, no, it's a big part about. I feel like that's the appeal too of the outdoors. I was an extremely impatient child, and my parents used to like. I literally had to be doing something at all times. I was extremely
I'm
impatient.
still.
Like couldn't even my yeah. My dad wouldn't like was like not allowed to take me fishing with his friends when I was a kid because I would have like jumped off the boat or something. Like that's how
I can
impatient I
relate
was.
to that.
But dude, it's like yeah, as I've been maturing, I feel like my patience has also been maturing, and that's an appeal for me in my early stage adventures with the mountains. Nothing like Manny and his his Mount Olympus journey, but me in my experience with the mountains, it's definitely obviously given me humility and put nature and everything in perspective. But which I can't imagine the views you see, and that's like from a plane, and as you're free falling in the air. I mean, I can imagine that that vision that you're seeing, but no, I mean, I think it's humility and patience, and it's really rewarding, and it's different than being plugged into these phones all day and all that kind of stuff, and it's a real reset as we're talking about, and so
Totally
if you
true, yeah.
aren't a lot or yeah, if you aren't big into the outdoors, I would really encourage all of you to get, experienced with it and hopefully taking, some lesson from Manny today, and making it your own. But no, last question, Manny. Last question before we round this out. I know we're kind of a little bit over our time, but we ask all our guests this: how do you define your next layer, whether that's physically, mentally, or anything else, any part of life, whatever your next layer is? How would you define what that is in this next phase of your life?
Good question, yeah. After the Olympus Odyssey, uh, I would say it's my next project, which I'm planning right now. So
I love it.
we try to go from we try to make a traverse through the Carpathian Mountains. So we start
Hmm.
in the north of Romania and go nearly all the way through South Romania with bikes and skis again. So, and
There we
this will be
go.
a little bit more skiing. So we're not going from one point to the other one and then ski there. So we really, next year in February, we want to start going with the bike, then hike up the mountain, ski, and we have about 12 days again on the bikes, also like 6 or 7 days on skis. And there will be some nice challenges because we have 2 times where we have to hike up the mountain. With the bikes, we have to get our bikes up the mountain again because we have to ski on the other side down. So it's not
Hmm.
only taking the skis on the bikes, but also taking the bikes on the skis this time.
That's crazy. That's gonna
So I
be
think
well. First of all,
that's the next
thanks for
layer. Yeah.
the yeah, thanks for the sneak peek on the next layer here. We got a tip in there, but we also got to get you guys. We will definitely get you fitted with the Elo seating insoles for that journey for sure.
Perfect.
And we
We
would
will
love to
love
be a
it.
part of that. But no, thanks for the sneak peek on that. And that's really cool, man. Combining all these disciplines that you're passionate about. Um, I think a good way to say it is anything at altitude you're into,
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And so kind of putting all these together, man, it's really inspiring and awesome what you're able to do and push your mind and your body to do in life. It's really cool, man, and inspiring. And I'm hoping a lot of people
Thank you so
got
much.
something out of this today. And so yeah, just to round this out. Again, thanks for tuning in, guys. It was a really great conversation with Manny. Be sure to follow all of his socials. We will link all of his socials in the description of this podcast. So be sure to check that out. And then obviously on our end, you can find us at elosthermal.com. All of our socials are at elosthermal, TikTok, Instagram, all those kind of things. And again, guys, thanks for tuning in to The Next Layer, where passion meets performance. And until next time, stay warm, stay sharp, and push limits. Thanks, Manny. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.